let us all do we can to build a better future.
Okay, Trump and Tucker Carlson, we got some highlights of that interview. And there's a lot that they talked about in the, 47-minute interview that they had. As it stands right now, and again, I'm really impressed with how Tucker has been able to at least get his message on the platform. Was I expecting a little bit more out of that interview? Yes, I was. But I can't argue with the results when that interview with Donald Trump stands at a whopping 198.8 million views on Twitter. That's one hell of a feat to do. It's not easy in this day and age of social media where everyone's being distracted. But I think it's important that we talk about this interview that Tucker Carlson had with former President Donald Trump. And let's start off with something I think we all can laugh at and agree with together, and that is how Trump reminisces about ending Hillary Clinton's political career. Just a side note, it was the Clintons that encouraged Trump to run in 2016. It was the Clintons that used to be good friends with Donald Trump way back in the day. And never forget during the first Republican primary where Trump said, I give these people money and they do what I say. Remember, folks, Trump used to be a Democrat and he used to give money to Democratic politicians. And Hill Dog used to be a U.S. senator in New York. One has to wonder if Trump gave her money and she did what he said. I mean, let's face it, Trump said that the system's corrupt. And when confronted about it, especially by moderators and corporate media, how do you know that? Trump said, hey, I've used it. He's used the corrupt system. Simple as that. 1, 2, 3. So let's talk about it. Let's pull it up. I was actually laughing at this.
Basically, she's saying Trump doesn't have the right to criticize an election. But you've been around long enough now. You've seen many elections criticized. I mean, Hillary Clinton goes crazy. Every time she talks, she says, he's not the president. Jimmy Carter said, he's not the president. Well, I am the president. Hillary Clinton called me, by the way, at 3:02 in the morning to congratulate me the night of the election.
Did her voice crack?
Well, her voice was, it's very different, I will say. I won't get into
I laugh at that because for many reasons. One, to trigger vote blue no matter who people. And also, number two, to just say that must have been a very interesting phone call. Because never forget, Hillary Clinton was screaming from the rooftop, he's not the president. We need a recount. It's Russia. All that Russiagate led us into this madness that we're in now, especially with this ridiculous war in Ukraine.
into that. But
What do you mean?
her voice was very different. Don't forget, they were all celebrating at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I came home and I said, I think we won.
I think we won. But also, look, there's some things that need to be brought up here too, as well. And I want to pull up this article from RT just to trigger Blue MAGA. Okay. And that is this right here. Biden won't make it to 2024. Again, Biden is 80 years old, folks. Okay. Now, if you've taken care of loved ones who are reaching that age or past that age, you know damn well that they exhibit signs of dementia. And Joe Biden, in my opinion, exhibits signs of dementia. He is not all there. He's not. And Trump goes on to say, U.S. President Joe Biden might not be able to run for re-election next year because of his poor mental and physical condition. Former president and current GOP candidate Donald Trump has suggested, which I have to say again, he's not all there. Crooked Joe Biden is so bad. He's the worst president in history of our country. I don't think he's going to make it to the gate. But, you never know. Again, I think he's worse mentally than he is physically. And physically, he's not exactly a triathlete or any kind of athlete. You look at him, and he can't walk to the helicopter. He walks, he can't lift his feet out of the grass. It's only 2 inches at the White House, right? That's not a lot. But you watch him, and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks. And look, Biden is no spring chicken, and vote blue no matter who. You guys and gals have to live up with the fact that you got an old dog that's not fit. Let's play this video here.
Joe is really.
But you don't think he's going to make it to November of 2024?
Well, I think he's worse mentally than he is physically. And physically, he's not exactly a triathlete or any kind of an athlete. You look at him, he can't walk to the helicopter. He walks. He can't lift his feet out of the grass. You know, it's only 2 inches at the White House, right? It's not a lot. But you watch him, and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks. So, and then you see him on the beach where he can't lift a chair. You know, those chairs are meant to be light, right? They're like 2 ounces.
Yeah.
You lift them up. He can't lift the chair. He can't walk to the chair. And I don't know what they're doing with the beach. You know, this beach is seeming to play a big role, but they love pictures of him on the beach. I think he looks terrible on the beach. He looks terrible on the beach.
Skinny legs.
Well, he can't walk through the sand. You know, sand is not that easy to walk through, but when he walks through.
Hey, come on, sand is easy to walk through. What's wrong with you? But anyways, probably when you get older, it becomes a little bit difficult.
He can't walk through the sand. And there's somebody in there that thinks he looks fabulous at the beach. I think Joe is.
Yeah, he's not physically fit. So for the most part, this interview that Tucker Carlson had with Donald Trump was more of let's talk shite about everybody that's not here. Let's talk a lot of mad stuff about people who are just making themselves look ridiculous. And let's face it, Hillary Clinton made herself look like a clown. Joe Biden every day makes himself look like a clown. Kamala Harris, well, come on, she looks like a clown.
She speaks in rhyme. It's weird. It's weird, but she has bad moments. And
In rhyme? What do you?
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future. She speaks in rhyme.
And so what can we take away from this? Kamala and Biden's approval rating are in the toilets. Trump is leading in double digits. He's way ahead of his competition. And if you compare what we saw during the Republican primary debate, all of those people on the stage are mediocre. They're not what Trump voters want. And yes, some of them got loud cheers. Some of them got deafening boos. But all of those candidates, all of them, majority of them, save for DeSantis, have approval or high polling rating of 7% and lower. Many of those individuals can't even get past 3%. I'm talking about you, Chris Christie, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, and Nikki Haley. That's not my name. They can't get past 3%. They're mediocre. They're weak in comparison to Donald Trump. And all of the media is filled with a bunch of sycophants and cowards. I want to pull up this video here. Trump talking about Chris Wallace. And again, all this interview truly was just, hey, let's talk smack about people that aren't here. And for the most part, I laughed. Didn't get any true analysis from it, just more of petty analysis. But again, it's funny to see how people are being dragged through the mud.
I said, how come? And this was in front of probably not a friend of yours, Chris Wallace. He was the moderator.
Not a friend.
I said, why is it he wants to be Mike, but he doesn't have the talent? It's one of those
bitchy little man.
He wanted to be his father, but he didn't have the.
Damn, Tucker. Jeez. Coming out there with the left hook to Chris Wallace's jaw. Hold on, in case you missed it.
The moderator.
Not a friend.
I said, why is it he wants to be Mike, but he doesn't have the talent? It's one of those
bitchy little man.
He wanted to be his father, but he didn't have the talent of his father was great. His father,
little fussy man.
His father interviewed me in 60 Minutes. It was actually a 10. Can you believe it?
No, I totally. His father had talent, at least.
I may have been the only guy that he gave a good 60 Minutes to. He was rough.
Really?
His father was tough. He was great, though. He was great at what he did. But Chris Wallace was so upset. He was guarding this guy who wouldn't do a show, by the way. You know, he wouldn't do. I figured. I didn't mind Chris Wallace because Biden wouldn't do a show. And it was very obvious. You know, he kept asking him, but he wouldn't do the show. So I figured he's got to like me. But he came from a different planet. But remember when I asked the question, why is it that the mayor of Moscow's wife is allowed to give you $3.5 million? Don't forget, that was brought up. Now it's brought up all the time. But that was brought up by me long before anyone ever heard of it. I said, the mayor of Moscow's wife giving you $3.5 million. What did you do to deserve $3.5 million? To Biden. And Chris Wallace said, this has nothing to do with the debate. I mean, he fought.
He got in the way of the question.
No, well, it was crazy. And I said, well, wait a minute. He got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Now, people forget that, but if you go back and take a look, you will see. And Chris Wallace didn't want me to ask that question. I said, I think it's a very appropriate question. It turned out to be much more appropriate than people thought.
And this is something I warned about in 2020. And that is, Trump was making all these statements and accusations about the Biden corruption. And let's face it, there's a lot of veracity to it because Washington, D.C. is filled with a lot of scumbags and dynastic families that are inherently truly corrupt. I mean, let's face it, there's insider trading happening in Washington, D.C. amongst Democratic and Republican lawmakers in the United States Senate and House. So it is legitimate to ask about Biden's business dealings, which are now all coming into light, and corporate media can deflect and hide as much as it can, but everybody's talking about it. It's all revealing itself. And Hunter Biden more or less screwed the pooch for the Biden crime family. The Bidens are just as corrupt as Trump. The Bidens are just as corrupt as any other political family in Washington, D.C. And all those business dealings in Ukraine, China, and so much more have veracity to them. One other thing here, too. Remember, everyone was hiding about that Hunter Biden laptop story. And now the thing is, let's talk about Trump and these indictments. There's a very good chance that Trump can walk away from this. There's a very good chance that Donald Trump will be one step ahead of the curb. And corporate media, the Democratic Party, better hope that he doesn't win or somehow survive, because he will come back with a vengeance. He will. He will come back with true vengeance against the system. I also want to pull this up here too, because again, let's talk about corruption. I want to pull up this video here so that all of you can see it firsthand as well. Because again, we talk about corruption in DC. Biden is no saint.
By the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars. See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had. And he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both. I mean, he's both incompetent and corrupt.
So
and
who
I
is running the
actually
government?
believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and they probably paid it. Well, they do pay Penn, and he gets $1 million. I think he takes $999,000 because, keeps it a little bit under $1 million, like by $1. But he, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate.
Okay. Maybe not. But there is a lot of people who have money and influence that dictate to Biden what policy should be implemented. I mean, Biden is clearly not an FDR president. He is not a progressive president. And these indictments that this administration is pushing on Trump will come back to get them. The worst thing that this administration has done, Democrats and corporate media have done, is try and quote unquote get Trump. Get Trump. The walls are closing in. Trump has been very lucky. And I think, in my own personal opinion, that Trump is going to walk away from this too. Every time corporate media, Blue MAGA, Democrats, the Biden-Harris administration think they got Trump, he just comes back more popular. And to be clear, Trump kept together his political movement. He has 81 million plus supporters. I will not underestimate that kind of influence, and Trump is a master showman. He's been involved in show business and politics for quite a long time. You may not have to like him, but I will say this. He will be ready with a vengeance towards the Democrats, and they brought this on themselves, which is why, again, I'm going to be laughing at them, and not only laughing, but smugly laughing at them as they cry and wail that Trump is running again in 2024. Let's play this video about the indictments.
The protest didn't work. You got elected anyway.
Yeah.
Impeachment didn't work twice, obviously. Indictment is not working. Your poll numbers go up. When they raided Mar-a-Lago in August of last year, your numbers went up. They can indict you 20 times, and you're not gonna lose the Republican primary because of that.
Well,
So,
it makes it look even more ridiculous. I mean, the 4 indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's next after, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life? That's not working. So like, don't they have to kill you now?
I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it. They really get it. When somebody,
I can't help but remember that great quote that Vince McMahon said when Trump was going to face off against him way back when wrestling was very entertaining. Maybe I just have a nostalgic feeling for old school wrestling, but Vince McMahon said, "Yeah, Trump, you got a lot of supporters in here, but most of these people are dumb anyways." If you've never seen Vince McMahon face off against Trump, do so. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. It's just a lot of fun stuff. And Trump saying, "Oh, I never would have said this 10 years ago, but the American people get it." Trump, we do get it. We just have corporate media that's been suppressing our voices. Let's rewind that.
indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's next after, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life? That's not working. So like, don't they have to kill you now?
I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And
it's kind of funny. Again, Vince McMahon, hey, Trump, you might have most of these people here supporting you, but all these people are dumb.
I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it. They really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life for this stuff. But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times. All trivia, nonsense, bullshit. It's all bullshit.
That's Trump. And it comes to no wonder why he's universally popular amongst Republican voters. He's going to be very successful, especially when he needs to get his message out there. And again, he's supposedly supposed to turn himself in by today. Maybe we'll see that infamous mugshot. People are talking about it. The Trump mugshot. Will it happen? Will it won't happen? But at this point in time, that's not going to change anything. It's not going to cause people to stop supporting him. In fact, I'm willing to bet that's going to increase his support. You see, the Democrats created Trump. Remember, Trump used to be a Democrat. And there's plenty of political ammunition that Trump can use against the Democrats now going forward. Was I impressed with the full-on Tucker Carlson interview? There was very little mention about, the First Amendment, freedom of speech. An individual, first name Julian, last name A, because I got to be careful of the YouTube guidelines. That wasn't really mentioned. Trump is not the perfect saint that his supporters want to make him out to be. But he does have a following. I would expect a little bit more, but maybe I'm just nitpicking here from the interview. But it's just like any other interview. But what we should take away from this is that if you vote Democrat, you're supporting the corporate owners. If you vote Republican, you're supporting the corporate owners. It doesn't matter who sits in the White House. At the end of the day, Wall Street's going to have the final say, not you, the voter. But Democrats will lose their little narrative of they brought the soul back to America's country, to the United States. They brought the soul back. The soul never came back. And Trump is not to be underestimated. And if he walks away from this, he will come back stronger and liberals will be crying more. That's the one caveat I could take away. I want to see Blue MAGA get triggered and have meltdowns. But I want to end this with a video segment that recently caught my attention. And that is, look, if Trump is going to be entering into the debates, he might be told not to come. Well, good luck telling Trump not to do that.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Yes!
I should be better, but I choose not to be.